When have you said that's not my name? My dentist called me Rachel during my cleaning appointment. I corrected her immediately, told her my name was Emma, that I'd been coming to this office for 3 years. She looked at my file, then back at me with a confused expression, and said the chart clearly showed Rachel Martinez. I laughed it off as a mix-up with another patient, but then it happened at the pharmacy. The technician asked if I was picking up medication for Rachel Martinez. I told him no, I was Emma Harris, showed him my ID. He scanned it, frowned, and said their system showed Rachel Martinez with my exact birth date and address. He handed me the prescription bag anyway, apologizing for the computer error. That was when I started paying attention. The next day, I got mail addressed to Rachel Martinez at my apartment. Not junk mail, but official-looking letters from a bank I'd never used. I opened one and found credit card statements showing thousands in charges. Restaurants I'd never been to, stores I'd never shopped at, all under the name Rachel Martinez. I called the credit card company to report fraud. The woman on the phone verified my social security number, my mother's maiden name, my address. Then she said, "Thank you for calling, Miss Martinez. How can I help you today?" I told her my name was Emma, not Rachel. She got quiet for a moment, then said according to their records, the account had been opened 5 years ago by Rachel Martinez. All the security questions matched my information perfectly. She suggested I come into a branch office with identification to sort out the confusion. My hands were shaking as I dug through my filing cabinet looking for old tax returns, my birth certificate, anything with my real name on it. But every document I found said Rachel Martinez. My lease, my car registration, my insurance papers, even my high school diploma had been changed somehow. I called my mom in a panic. She answered on the third ring, and I asked her to confirm my full legal name. There was a pause that lasted too long. Then she said, "Honey, why are you asking me this?" I told her about the dentist, the pharmacy, all the documents. She was quiet again, and I could hear my dad saying something in the background. When she came back on the line, her voice sounded strange. Careful. She said we needed to talk in person, not over the phone. I drove to my parents' house that same day. They were waiting in the living room, both sitting stiff on the couch like they'd been expecting me. My dad looked older somehow, tired in a way I'd never noticed before. My mom started talking, but nothing she said made sense. She mentioned protection, safety, necessary precautions, words that felt like they were meant for someone else's life. I asked her directly, "What is my real name?" She looked at my dad, and something passed between them, some decision. Then she said, "Emma Louise Harris. That's who you were born as, but that's not who you've been for the last 6 years." I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, for her to laugh and tell me this was some elaborate prank. Instead, she pulled out a folder from the drawer in the coffee table. Inside were photos of me, but not me. Same face, different hair, different clothes, different life. Pictures of me with people I'd never met, at places I'd never been. After the trial, my dad said quietly, "They told us you'd be safer with a new identity, that the people you testified against had connections, resources, that Emma Harris needed to disappear." I wanted to argue, to tell them I'd never testified against anyone, never been involved in any trial. But as I looked at those photos, something shifted in my head, like a door opening to a room I'd forgotten existed. I remembered being Rachel. I remembered the courtroom. I remembered the threats. And that's when I realized my whole life had been a lie designed to keep me alive. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. I stare at my parents, trying to make sense of the fragments coming back to me. The courtroom, the threats, my old name. Rachel Martinez, I whisper, testing the name on my tongue. It feels both foreign and familiar, like a song I used to know but can't quite remember the melody to. My dad leans forward, his voice low and steady. "You were 19 when it happened. You were working at that coffee shop near campus, remember? The one with the blue awnings." Something clicks in my mind. Blue awnings. Espresso machines hissing. A regular customer who always tipped well and spoke Spanish on his phone. Carlos, I say suddenly. Carlos Vargas. My mother's hand flies to her mouth. "Yes, you remember him. Not everything, I admit. Just flashes. He came in every Tuesday and Thursday. Always ordered a double espresso and talked business on his phone." Dad nods grimly. Carlos Vargas was the nephew of Miguel Vargas, head of one of the most dangerous drug cartels operating across the border. They were using that coffee shop as a meeting point, and you overheard things they didn't realize you understood because your grandmother taught you Spanish. The room seems to tilt as another memory surfaces. Men in suits, federal agents showing me photographs, bodies, so many bodies. When they approached you, Mom continues, her voice trembling, you didn't want to get involved, but then they showed you what the cartel had done to other witnesses, to families who got in their way. I pressed my hands against my temples, trying to stop the room from spinning. I testified, against Carlos and his uncle. I remember the courtroom now, the way they looked at me. Dad reaches for my hand. "You were the key witness, Rachel Emma. Your testimony put Miguel Vargas away for life and several of his lieutenants for decades. Carlos escaped custody during the trial, but they caught him later trying to cross back into Mexico. The Witness Protection Program contacted us immediately after. Mom says, they said it wasn't safe for you to remain Rachel Martinez, that the cartel had connections everywhere, even in prison. They would never stop looking for you." A chill runs through me as another memory surfaces. Carlos Vargas standing in the courtroom, pointing at me as guards dragged him away. "Te encontraré, no importa donde te escondan. I'll find you, no matter where they hide you." So they gave me a new identity, I say slowly. Emma Harris. They relocated us all, Dad explains. New jobs, new home, new backgrounds. They even created a fake childhood for you with doctored school records and photographs. But why don't I remember any of this clearly? It's like I know it happened, but through a fog. My parents exchange another look, this one heavy with guilt. After the trial, Mom says carefully, "You had nightmares, panic attacks. You couldn't sleep without seeing their faces. The prosecutor arranged for you to see a specialist, someone who works with the program. Dr. Levinson," I murmur, the name appearing in my mind. "Yes, she suggested a treatment to help you cope with the trauma. Medication that would dull the memories, make them less accessible. She said it would help you embrace your new identity if the old one wasn't constantly intruding. You drugged me into forgetting who I was? The accusation comes out sharper than I intended. No, honey, not like that. Dad protests. It was therapeutic, supervised. The medication just made it easier for you to compartmentalize, to live as Emma without Rachel's trauma haunting you. I stand up abruptly, pacing the living room. So all these years, every time I've taken my anxiety medication, it was maintaining the barrier between your past and present. Mom finishes quietly. Dr. Levinson said eventually you might not need it anymore, that the memories would stay dormant on their own. But we were afraid to stop, afraid of what might happen if Rachel suddenly came back, like she's doing now, I say bitterly. Dad rubs his face, looking exhausted. We missed your last refill. With your pharmacy change, there was a mix-up in the transfer. By the time we realized you'd been off the medication for almost 2 weeks. That explains the confusion at the pharmacy, the sedatives wearing off, my real identity pushing through the chemical barrier they'd built around it. So who knows? I ask. About me? About all of this? Just the marshals assigned to our case, Dr. Levinson, and a handful of officials in the program, Mom says. No one else was supposed to know. That's why this is so frightening. What do you mean? Mom's face crumples. Someone leaked your information. Emma, someone in the program. That's why your name suddenly appeared in the system at your dentist's office, at the pharmacy. They shouldn't have been able to find any record of Rachel Martinez connected to you. The program contacted us yesterday, Dad adds. There's been a security breach. They're investigating, but in the meantime, the cartel knows where I am. I finish, my blood running cold. They know who Emma Harris really is. As if summoned by my words, a memory crashes through with startling clarity. I'm on the witness stand, staring at Miguel Vargas as he leans forward to whisper something to his lawyer, but his eyes never leave mine, and I can read his lips clearly. La familia nunca olvida. The family never forgets. We need to call the marshals, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. If the Vargas cartel knows I'm here, we need to move, now. Dad is already reaching for his phone when headlights sweep across the living room window. A black SUV has pulled up outside our house. Is that them? I ask. The marshals? Mom peeks through the curtains and her face goes pale. They drive government cars. This isn't government. The three of us freeze as the SUV's engine cuts off and a car door slams. Rachel Martinez might have been buried for 6 years, but now she's wide awake, and she remembers exactly what the Vargas cartel promised to do if they ever found her. The sound of tires on gravel makes us all freeze. My dad steps to the window, peeks through the blinds, and his shoulders immediately relax. Government plates, he says, and my mom lets out a shaky breath. It's the marshals. 2 men in dark suits approach our front door, and I have a flash of deja vu men in similar suits sitting across from me in an interview room 6 years ago, showing me photographs of bodies with bullet holes. I shake the image away as Dad opens the door. Mr. Harris, the taller agent says, extending his hand. I'm Agent Donovan. This is Agent Reyes. We're here about the security breach. They step inside, eyes scanning our living room with practiced efficiency. Agent Reyes notices me immediately, and I see recognition in his eyes. Rachel, he says, then catches himself. I mean, Emma, you probably don't remember me. I was part of your protection detail during the trial. Another memory surfaces, a younger Reyes standing outside my hotel room door, checking the hallway before escorting me to the courthouse. I remember, I say quietly. You brought me hot chocolate that morning before I testified. He nods, a hint of a smile on his face. Good memory. Not really, I mutter. Just coming back now that I'm off the meds. Agent Donovan pulls out a tablet. We need to assess the extent of the breach. Your information was flagged in several systems, medical records, pharmacy databases. We're working to contain it, but we need to understand how it happened. While they talk to my parents about security protocols, I slip away to my bedroom with my laptop. My hands are shaking as I type Rachel Martinez Vargas trial into the search bar. The results load instantly. News articles, court records, even a true crime podcast episode titled The Barista Who Brought Down a Cartel. I click on a news article from 6 years ago, and there I am. A blurry courtroom sketch of a terrified 9-year-old girl on the witness stand, dark hair pulled back, eyes wide with fear. Key witness Rachel Martinez testified today that she overheard Carlos Vargas discussing shipment routes and distribution points while working at the campus coffee corner. Martinez, who speaks fluent Spanish thanks to her maternal grandmother, provided detailed accounts of conversations between Vargas and other cartel members that prosecutors say are the smoking gun in their case against the organization responsible for at least 27 deaths in the past 3 years. I scroll through more articles, feeling like I'm reading about a stranger until I find a video clip. My finger hovers over the play button before I finally press it. Miss Martinez, a reporter asks, are you afraid of retaliation from the cartel? The camera zooms in on my face, younger, rounder, with longer hair, but unmistakably me. My voice sounds higher, shakier. I'm doing what's right, video Rachel says. The things they've done, someone has to stand up to them. I close the laptop, feeling sick. That girl sounds so naive, so unaware of what was coming. The witness protection program, the medication, losing her entire identity. A knock on my bedroom door makes me jump. Emma, Mom calls. The agents want to talk to you. When I return to the living room, the atmosphere has changed. Agent Donovan is on his phone, speaking in low, urgent tones. Agent Reyes is drawing the blinds closed. What's happening? I ask. Reyes glances at my parents before answering. We've received intelligence that suggests the Vargas organization knows your location. A known associate of theirs was spotted in a rental car 3 blocks from here earlier today. The room seems to tilt. A hitman? We don't know his specific role, Donovan says, hanging up his phone, but he's connected to Miguel Vargas's inner circle. We need to implement security measures immediately. My parents look terrified. Dad's face has gone ashen, and Mom is clutching her sweater around herself like armor. We should relocate, Dad says firmly. New identities, new location. It worked before. No, Mom counters, surprising me. We can't keep running. Emma has a life here, college plans, friends. We can increase security, but I don't want her to lose everything again. Better to lose friends than her life, Patricia. Dad snaps, using Mom's real name instead of her witness protection name. We have options. Agent Donovan interjects. We can secure this location, provide round-the-clock protection while we track down the source of the leak. While they argue, I walk to the window and carefully peer between the blinds. The street looks normal. Quiet suburban houses, a kid riding a bike, someone walking a dog. But then I notice a dark blue sedan parked under a tree at the end of the block. A man sits in the driver's seat, not moving, just watching our house. There's someone out there, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. Agent Reyes is beside me instantly, looking where I'm pointing. He swears under his breath and pulls out his phone, snapping a photo through the blinds. Javier Ortiz, he says, showing the image to Donovan. Enforcer for the Vargas organization, suspected in at least 4 witness eliminations. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I pull it out to find a text from an unknown number. The message makes my blood run cold. Found you, witness. I drop the phone like it's burned me. Agent Reyes picks it up, reads the message, and immediately starts barking orders into his radio. We need to move now, he says, grabbing my arm. They know exactly where you are, and they're making it clear they're coming for you. How did they get my number? I ask, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. Same way they found everything else, Donovan says grimly. We have a serious breach. Someone with high-level access is feeding them information. My parents are throwing essentials into bags, medications, documents, a change of clothes. Mom is crying silently as she works, and Dad keeps looking out the window at the blue sedan. What about the medication? I ask suddenly. The stuff that kept me from remembering? Agent Reyes exchanges a look with my parents. That was never standard protocol, Emma. It was an experimental approach for extreme trauma cases. But right now, we need Rachel Martinez's memories. They might help us figure out who's coming after you and why they've waited 6 years to make their move. As we prepare to leave through the back door, I take one last look at the house where I've spent the last 6 years believing I was Emma Harris, ordinary college student with an ordinary life. That life is over now. Rachel Martinez is awake, and she remembers the promise the Vargas family made in that courtroom 6 years ago. They found me, and they're not going to stop until they've kept their promise. Agent Reyes hustles me through the back door of our house while Agent Donovan covers us, his hand resting on his holstered weapon. The night air feels electric, charged with danger. My parents follow close behind, carrying hastily packed bags. Stay low, Reyes instructs, guiding us toward an unmarked black sedan parked in our neighbor's driveway. The primary vehicle they'll be watching for is the SUV out front. I glance back at our house, the only home I've known for 6 years, wondering if I'll ever see it again. The thought makes my chest tighten. Emma, Mom whispers, squeezing my arm. Stay focused. Rachel. I correct her automatically. I think I need to be Rachel now. The drive to the safe house is tense and silent. Agent Reyes takes random turns and doubles back several times, checking the rearview mirror constantly. My father sits rigidly beside me, while my mother clutches her phone, waiting for updates from Donovan, who stayed behind to coordinate with local authorities. Where are we going? I finally ask as we leave the suburbs behind. Federal building downtown, Reyes replies. We have secure accommodations there while we determine next steps. The secure accommodations turn out to be a converted office space with 2 sets of bunk beds, a small bathroom, and a kitchenette. It smells of industrial cleaner and coffee. Agent Reyes leaves us to get settled while he attends a briefing. How long do we stay here? Dad asks, when Reyes returns an hour later. At least until we identify the source of the information leak, he answers, setting a laptop on the table. In the meantime, Emma Rachel, I need you to look at something. He pulls up a series of photographs on the screen. These are known associates of the Vargas cartel who've entered the country in the past month. I need you to tell me if you recognize anyone. I scroll through mugshots and surveillance photos of hard-faced men until I freeze on image number 12. My blood turns to ice. Him, I whisper, pointing at a man with a thin scar running from his left eye to his jaw. He was in the courtroom during my testimony. He sat behind Miguel Vargas every day. Reyes leans closer. You're sure? Positive. He would stare at me the whole time, never blinking. I used to have nightmares about his eyes. I swallow hard. Who is he? Domingo Fuentes. He's their top enforcer, responsible for at least a dozen witness eliminations. Reyes studies my face. If he's here, this isn't just about sending a message. They want to finish what they started 6 years ago. My parents exchange terrified glances. I don't understand, Mom says. Why now? After all this time? Miguel Vargas died in prison 3 months ago, Reyes explains. His son Alejandro has taken over operations. Our intelligence suggests he's trying to prove himself by tying up loose ends, and Rachel here is the biggest loose end of all. The next morning, a female agent named Chen brings us breakfast and fresh clothes. She's setting up a secure tablet for my parents when her phone buzzes. Yes, sir, she answers, then her expression changes. When? How many? She glances at me. I understand. We're moving to Protocol Delta. She ends the call and immediately starts packing up the equipment. What's happening? I ask. We've been compromised, she says tersely. Agent Donovan's phone was remotely accessed 4 hours ago. They have our location. My father stands up so quickly he knocks over his chair. How is that possible? Aren't these phones supposed to be secure? They are, Chen replies, her voice tight, which means we're dealing with someone who has access to our systems or someone with extremely sophisticated hacking capabilities. Either way, we need to move. Now, we're rushing toward the parking garage when Chen's radio crackles. 2 suspects approaching from the south entrance, armed. She changes direction instantly, pushing us toward a service elevator. New plan. We're taking the emergency exit. The elevator doors are closing when I see him. Domingo Fuentes stepping out of a stairwell. Our eyes lock for a split second before the doors shut completely. My legs nearly give out. He's here, I gasp. The enforcer. He's in the building. Chen draws her weapon and speaks rapidly into her radio as the elevator descends. When we reach the basement level, 2 more agents are waiting with an armored SUV. Your parents will go with Agent Miller, Chen tells me, nodding toward a balding man with kind eyes. You're coming with me and Torres in the decoy vehicle. No, my mother protests. We stay together. This isn't a discussion, Mrs. Harris, Chen says firmly. They're after Rachel, not you. Separating gives us all a better chance. Before I can argue, Chen pulls me toward toward a different vehicle. I barely have time to look back at my parents before we're speeding up the exit ramp. Stay down, Torres instructs from the driver's seat as we merge into traffic. I slide lower in my seat, my heart hammering against my ribs. We've gone maybe 6 blocks when a dark sedan slams into our rear bumper. We've got company, Torres says grimly, accelerating through a yellow light. The sedan follows, gaining on us. Chen swears under her breath. How did they find us so quickly? The breach must be worse than we thought, Torres replies, swerving to avoid another collision. The chase continues through downtown streets, the sedan staying right on our tail despite Torres's evasive maneuvers. When we hit the highway, a second vehicle appears, attempting to box us in. I can't shake them, Torres says, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. I'm thrown against my seatbelt as a bullet shatters our back window. Chen returns fire while Torres takes the next exit at dangerous speed. We need backup, Chen shouts into her radio. ETA 3 minutes, comes the crackling response. We don't have 3 minutes, Torres mutters, taking a hard right into an industrial area. As we speed between warehouses, I make a decision. I need to talk to the prosecution lawyer, I say suddenly. What? Chen glances back at me like I've lost my mind. Diana Vega, the prosecutor from my case. I need to speak with her. That's not exactly our priority right now, Chen says as Torres narrowly avoids another collision. You don't understand? I insist. She knew things about the case that weren't in the official record, things that might explain why they're so determined to find me after all this time. Chen and Torres exchange looks as sirens wail in the distance. If we survive the next 10 minutes, Chen says, I'll see what I can do. When backup finally arrives and we lose our pursuers, I realize something fundamental has changed within me. I'm done running, done hiding, done being drugged into forgetting who I am. I want to meet with Diana Vega. I tell Agent Reyes when we regroup at a different safe house. I need answers, and I think she has them. He studies me for a long moment. That's not the protocol. The protocol failed, I say firmly. Someone compromised your security from the inside. The only way to end this is to confront it head on. Reyes sighs, looking suddenly tired. You sound like Rachel Martinez now, not Emma Harris. I straighten my shoulders. Good, because Rachel is the one who can end this. The drive to Diana Vega's office feels like traveling back in time. Agent Reyes sits silently beside me while I watch rain streak down the passenger window, my reflection ghostly against the gray downtown buildings. I barely recognize myself, the dark circles under my eyes, the tension in my jaw. Rachel Martinez is fully awake now. She agreed to meet immediately, Reyes says, breaking the silence. That's unusual. Maybe she's been waiting for this call. I reply, remembering the fierce prosecutor who'd spent months building the case against the Vargas cartel. She always said they'd try again someday. Diana's law office occupies the top floor of a sleek building with security that rivals the FBI's. When the elevator doors open, she's waiting for us, looking barely older than she did 6 years ago, still razor sharp in a tailored suit, her dark hair now streaked with silver at the temples. Rachel, she says, her voice warm but her eyes calculating. You look different. So do you, I reply. Less government, more private sector. She smiles tightly. After your case, I needed a change. Come in. Her office is all glass and chrome with views of the city skyline. Rain patters against the windows as she gestures for us to sit. A case file already waits on her desk, my name printed on the tab. You kept it, I say, nodding at the file. I keep all my unfinished business. She sits across from us, folding her hands. I've been following the news about Miguel Vargas's death. When Agent Reyes called, I wasn't surprised. Then you know why I'm here. Diana nods. Alejandro Vargas, Miguel's son. She opens the file and slides a photograph across the desk. A handsome man in his early 30s with cold eyes. He was 17 when you testified, too young to be charged with the family's crimes, but old enough to swear vengeance. My stomach drops as memories surface, a younger version of this man sitting behind his father every day in court, watching me with undisguised hatred. He wants to kill me himself, I say, the realization hitting me suddenly. That's why they've been tracking me, instead of just sending a hitman to finish the job. It's personal for him, Diana confirms. His father died believing you betrayed the family's trust. In their world, that requires a specific kind of justice. Agent Reyes leans forward. We need to end this. Rachel can't keep running forever. Diana studies my face. No, she can't. She turns to a different section of the file. There's something you should know, Rachel. Something that wasn't in the official record. My pulse quickens. What? The night before you testified, Miguel Vargas sent a message offering you $2 million to recant your testimony. When you refused, he promised that one day his family would make you pay not with a quick death, but with the same slow destruction you brought to his organization. I swallow hard. I don't remember that. You wouldn't. We kept it from you to prevent additional stress. But it explains why Alejandro is so determined to find you himself. It's about honor, revenge, and proving himself worthy of taking his father's place. Reyes shifts uncomfortably. So what's our play here? Diana closes the file and looks directly at me. We set a trap, using Rachel as bait. Absolutely not. Reyes objects immediately. We're not putting a witness in danger. I'll do it, I say, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounds. Reyes stares at me. Rachel, you don't understand what you're saying. These people, I understand perfectly. I cut him off. I've been running for 6 years, drugged into forgetting who I am. I'm done hiding. Diana nods approvingly. The Vargas family respects confrontation. If Alejandro wants to look me in the eyes when he kills me, then let's give him that chance on our terms. The plan comes together over the next 3 hours. Diana still has connections with the DEA and local police. Agent Reyes reluctantly coordinates with his superiors. My parents are moved to a military base for protection while I prepare to face the man who's haunted my nightmares. We choose a location, an abandoned warehouse the FBI has wired for surveillance. Diana reaches out through channels that might get back to Alejandro, suggesting that Rachel Martinez wants to make a deal to explain her side of the story before things go too far. He'll suspect a trap, Reyes warns as we review the final details. Of course he will, Diana replies, but his pride won't let him ignore the invitation. He's spent years searching for her. The chance to finally confront her will be too tempting to pass up. The night of the meeting. I sit alone at a metal table in the center of the warehouse, my heart hammering against my ribs. Agents are positioned throughout the building, hidden from view. Diana and Reyes watch from a surveillance van outside. When the door finally opens, Alejandro Vargas walks in alone, a calculated risk on his part. He's more handsome than his photo, dressed impeccably in a suit that probably costs more than my car. His eyes are his father's eyes, cold and assessing. Rachel Martinez, he says, his voice carrying the faintest accent. The girl who destroyed my family. I force myself to meet his gaze. I didn't destroy anything. Your father did that himself. He circles the table slowly, like a predator. My father built an empire from nothing. He provided for thousands of families. He was respected, feared. His voice hardens, until a coffee shop girl decided to play hero. I wasn't playing anything, I say, my voice stronger than I feel. I saw what your family did to people who got in your way. He laughs softly. And what do you think we're going to do to you? Whatever you're planning, it won't bring your father back. It won't rebuild what was lost. Alejandro stops pacing and places his hands on the table, leaning toward me. This isn't about rebuilding. This is about justice. Justice? I stand up suddenly, anger replacing fear. Let me show you something. I nod toward the corner where a projector has been set up. It flickers to life, displaying court footage that Diana recovered from the archives. On the screen, a terrified 19-year-old Rachel sits on the witness stand. Prosecutor: Miss Martinez, why did you come forward with this information? Rachel: I didn't want to. I was scared. They threatened me, said they'd hurt my family if I talked. Prosecutor: Who threatened you? Rachel: Carlos Vargas. He said his uncle would make sure I disappeared if I ever repeated what I heard. Prosecutor: So why did you testify despite these threats? The young Rachel on screen wipes tears from her face. Because they killed Maria. She was just a barista like me, but she saw something she shouldn't have. They made it look like an overdose, but everyone knew she didn't do drugs. Alejandro's face changes as he watches, something flickering behind his eyes. I never wanted to destroy your family, I tell him, as the video continues. I just didn't want more people to die. He turns to me, his expression unreadable. You expect me to believe you were some reluctant hero? That you had no choice? I had choices, none of them good. I meet his gaze, just like you have choices now. For a moment, we stand in silence, the weight of 6 years hanging between us. Then the warehouse doors burst open as FBI agents stream in, weapons drawn. Alejandro doesn't resist as they handcuff him. He keeps his eyes on me. This isn't over, he says quietly as they lead him away. Yes, it is, I reply. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in a new apartment in a different state, watching rain on a different window. My parents are settling into their new lives nearby. The medication that kept Rachel Martinez buried is gone from my system. My memories, both good and painful, are fully intact. Agent Reyes sits across from me, reviewing my new documentation. Cassandra Wilson, I say, testing my new name. It doesn't feel right. It's not supposed to feel right yet, he explains. It takes time. And the security? Enhanced protocols. New system. We've identified and removed the breach. He hesitates. No one will find you this time. I nod. But we both know it's not that simple. The Vargas organization still exists. Even with Alejandro behind bars, there will always be someone looking to settle old scores. What about Diana? I ask. Is she safe? She's taken precautions, Reyes assures me. She's dealt with cartels before. As he prepares to leave, Reyes hands me a burner phone. For emergencies only. My direct line. Thank you, I say, for everything. After he's gone, I stand at the window watching rain blur the unfamiliar skyline of my new city. I don't know if I'll ever feel completely safe again. I don't know if Rachel Martinez will ever fully disappear into Cassandra Wilson. But for the first time in 6 years, I'm not running from my past. I'm facing it, remembering it, owning it. The girl who testified against the Vargas cartel is still inside me, stronger now, less afraid. I touch my reflection in the glass. Nice to meet you, Cassandra, I whisper. I hope you're ready for whatever comes next.